Good late afternoon, mid-afternoon, good period of time. Sam Tarmigan, how are you? This is the first half of Chapter 8 of The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents. This is one of the longer ones, so it's being split in half. Thank you, as always, for commissioning this entire book for me. You were amazing. I am having a time reading this. It is so much fun. I need to know 8,000 more things. Excuse me. So, I'm jumping right in. Chapter 8, here's the opening quote. Mr. Bunsey realized that he was a fat rabbit in the dark wood. I wished he wasn't a rabbit, or at least not a fat one, but Ratty Rupert was on the way. Little did he know what was waiting for him. I don't. No, stop teasing me like, especially now I know what the dark wood is, like after the last. No! When the three rats leaped, they were already too late. Oh, God. There was just a Morris-shaped hole in the air. Maurice was across the room and scrambling up some boxes. They were squeaking below him. He jumped onto another box and saw a place in the wall where some of the rotten bricks had fallen out. He aimed for it, scrabbled on thin air as bricks moved under him, and pushed himself into the unknown. Oh, Lord. It was another cellar, and it was full of water. In fact, what it was full of was not exactly water. It was what water eventually becomes when rat cages drain into it and gutters up above drain into it, and it has had a chance to sit and bubble gently to itself for a year or so. To call it mud would be an insult. To perfectly respectable swamps all over the world. Oh! Maurice landed in it. It went coop. He cat paddled furiously through the thick stuff, trying not to breathe, and dragged himself out on what felt like a pile of rubble on the other side of the room. A fallen rafter, slimy with mold, led up to more tangled, fire-blackened wood in the ceiling. Ugh! He could still hear that dreadful voice in his head, but it was muffled. It was trying to give him orders. Trying to give a cat orders? It was easier to nail jelly to a wall. What did it think he was, a dog? Stinking mud. I love that line, actually. Stinking mud oozed off of him. Even his ears were full of mud. He went to lick himself clean and then stopped. It was a perfectly normal cat reaction, licking yourself clean, but licking this off would probably kill him. Oh, it's so gross. There was movement in the dark. He could just make out some big rat shapes pouring through the hole. There were a couple of splashes. Some of the shapes were creeping along the walls. Ah, said the voice. You see them. Watch them come for you, cat. What the fuck? So is that his conscience? His conscience? Or what is that voice? I don't get it. Oh. Maurice stopped himself from running. This was no time to listen to his inner cat. His inner cat had got him out of the room, but his inner cat was stupid. It wanted him to attack things small enough to run away from everything else, but no cat could tackle a bunch of rats this size. He froze and tried to keep an eye on the advancing rats. They were heading directly for him. Hold on. The voice had said, "You can see them." How did it know? Maurice tried to think loudly. Can you read my mind? Nothing happened. Maurice had a burst of inspiration. He shut his eyes. Open them, came the immediate command, and his eyelids trembled. Shan't, thought Maurice. You can't hear my thoughts, he thought. You only use my eyes and ears. You're just guessing what I'm thinking. There was no reply. Maurice didn't wait. He leaped. The sloping beam was where he remembered it. He clawed his way up and hung on. At least all they could do was follow him up. With any luck, he could use his claws. The rats got closer. Now they were sniffing for him down below, and he imagined quivering noses in the darkness. One started to climb the beam, still sniffing. It must have been within inches of Maurice's tail when it turned around and went back down again. He heard them reach the top of the rubble. There was more bewildered sniffing, and then, in the dark, the sound of the rats paddling through the mud. Maurice wrinkled his mud-caked forehead in amazement. Rats who couldn't smell a cat? And then he realized he didn't smell of a cat. He stank of mud. He felt like mud in a room full of stinking mud. He sat, still as stone, until through mud-caked ears he heard claws head back to the hole in the wall. And then, without opening his eyes, with his heart beating hard, he crept carefully back down to the rubble and found that it had piled up against a rotten wooden door. What must have been a piece of plank, soggy as a sponge, fell out as he touched it. A feeling of openness suggested that there was another cellar beyond. It stank of rot and burned wood. Would the voice know where he was if he opened his eyes now? Didn't one cellar look like another? Perhaps this room was full of rats, too. His eyes sprang open. There were no rats, but there was another rusted drain cover that opened into a tunnel just big enough for him to walk through. He could see a faint light. So this is the rat world, he thought, as he tried to scrape the mud off himself. Dark and muddy and stinky and full of weird voices. I'm a cat. Sunlight and fresh air, that's my style. All I need now is a hole into the outside world, and they won't see me for dust, or at least for dried bits of dried mud. A voice in his head, which wasn't the anonymous voice, but a voice just like his own, said, "But what about the stupid-looking kid and the rest of them? You ought to help them." That's his conscience. So then what is this other voice? The other thing is, it's formatted in my book as bolded and italicized at the same time, so that's got to be special. Only one other character has special fonts for the way they talk, which is Death, but it's not Death because it's not in all cap. I don't understand what this is. Sam, I don't get it. And Maurice thought, where did you come from? I'll tell you what, you help them and I'll go somewhere warm. How about that? The light at the end of the tunnel grew brighter. It still wasn't anything like daylight, or even moonlight, but anything was better than this gloom. At least nearly anything. He pushed his head out of the pipe into a much larger one, made of bricks that were slimy with strange underground nastiness, and into the circle of candlelight. It's Maurice, said Peaches, staring at the mud dripping off his matted fur. Smells better than he usually does, then, said Darktan, grinning in what Maurice considered an unfriendly way. Oh, ha ha, said Maurice weakly. He wasn't in the mood for repartee. I knew you wouldn't let us down, old friend, said Dangerous Beans. I've always said that we can depend on Maurice, at least. He sighed deeply. Yes, said Darktan, giving Maurice a much more knowing look. Depend on him to do what, though? Oh, said Maurice. Good. I found you all, then. Yes, said Darktan, in what Maurice thought was a nasty tone of voice. Amazing, isn't it? I expect you've been looking for a long time, too. I saw you rush off to look for us. Can you help us, said Dangerous Beans. We need a plan. Right, said Maurice. I suggest we go upward at every opportunity to rescue Hammond Pork, said Darktan. We don't leave our people behind. We don't, said Maurice. We don't, said Darktan. And then there's the kid, said Peaches. Sardine says he's tied up with a female kid in one of the cellars. Oh, well, you know, humans, said Maurice, sprinkling his face. Humans and humans, you know. It's a human kind of thing. I don't think we should meddle. Could be misunderstood. I know about humans. They'll sort it out. I don't care a ferret's shirt for humans, snapped Darktan. But those rat catchers took Hammond Pork off in a cage. You saw that room, Cat. You saw the rats crammed in cages. It's the rat catchers who are stealing the food. Sardine says there's sacks and sacks of food, and there's something else. A voice, said Maurice. Before he could stop. Wait, can the others hear it? Darktan looked up, wild-eyed. You heard it, he said. I thought it was just us. The rat catchers can hear it too, said Maurice, only they think it's their own thoughts. What the fuck? It frightened the others, mumbled Dangerous Beans. They just stopped thinking. Oh, I just assumed it was panic. Like, what the hell is going on? He looked absolutely dejected. Open beside him, grubby with dirt and paw marks, was Mr. Bunsey as an adventure. Even Toxie ran off, he went on, and he knows how to write. How can that happen? It seemed to affect some of us more than others, said Darktan in a more matter-of-fact voice. I've seen some of the more sensible ones out. Let me do that again. I sent some of the more sensible ones out to try and round up the rest, but it's going to be a long job. They were just running blindly. We've got to get Hammond Pork. He's the leader. We're rats, after all, a clan. Rats will follow the leader. But he's a bit old, and you're the tough one, and he's not exactly the brains of the outfit, Maurice began. They took him away, said Darktan. They're rat catchers. He's one of us. Are you going to help or not? Maurice thought he heard a scrabbling noise at the end of his pipe. He couldn't turn around to check, and he suddenly felt very exposed. Yeah, help you. Yeah, he said hurriedly. Uh-huh. Do you really mean that, Maurice? Said Peaches. Yeah, right, said Maurice. He crawled out of the pipe and looked back along it. There was no sign of any rats. Sardines is following the rat catchers, said Darktan, so we'll find out where they're taking him. I've got a bad feeling that I already know, said Maurice. How? Snapped Peaches. I'm a cat, right? Said Maurice. Cats hang around places. We see things. A lot of places don't mind cats wandering in, right? Because we keep all right. We know you don't eat anyone who can talk. You keep telling us, said Peaches. Get on with it. I was in a place once. It was a barn. I was up in the hayloft where you can always find Peaches rolled her eyes. Yes, go on. Well, anyway, all these men came in, and I couldn't get away because they had lots of dogs, and they shut the barn doors, and they put up this kind of big round wooden wall in the middle of the floor, and there were some men with boxes of rats, and they tipped rats into the rings, and then Then they put some dogs in too. Terriers, he added, trying to avoid their expressions. The rats fought the dogs, said D'Artagnan. Well, I suppose they could have done that, said Maurice. They mostly ran around and around. It's called rat coursing. Rat catchers bring the rats along, of course, alive. That's what's happening to Ham and Pork. Rat coursing, said D'Artagnan. How is it we've never heard of this? Maurice blinked at him. For clever creatures, the rats can be amazingly stupid at times. Why would you hear about it? He said. Well, surely one of the rats who... You don't seem to understand, said Maurice. The rats that go into the pit don't come out, at least not breathing. Hence them not ever hearing a story about it, because no one survives it. There was silence. Can't they jump out? Asked Peaches in a little voice. Too high, said Maurice. Why don't they fight the dogs? Asked D'Artagnan. Excuse me. Really, really stupid, Maurice thought. Because they're rats, D'Artagnan, said Maurice. Lots of rats, all stinking in one another's fear and panic. You know how it happens. I bit a dog on the nose once, said D'Artagnan. Right, said Maurice, soothingly. One rat can think and be brave, right? But a bunch of rats is a mob. A bunch of rats is just a big animal with lots of legs and no brain. That's not true, said Peaches. Together we are strong. Exactly how high, asked D'Artagnan, who was staring at the candlelight as if seeing pictures in it. What? Said Peaches and Maurice together. The wall, how high exactly? Huh? I don't know. High. Humans were leaning their elbows on it. Does it matter? It's far too high for a rat to jump. I know that. Everything we've done because we've stuck together, Peaches began. We'll rescue Ham and Pork together then, said D'Artagnan. He spun around at the sound of a rat coming along the pipe and then wrinkled his nose. It's sardines, he said. And let's see, smells female, young, nervous, nourishing. The youngest member of the trap disposal squad was trailing after sardines. She was wet and dejected. I didn't actually expect her to still be alive. You look like a drowned rat, miss, said D'Artagnan. Fell in a broken drain, sir, said Nourishing. Good to see you anyway. What's happening, Sardines? The dancing rat did a few nervous steps. I've been climbing up more drain pipes and along more clotheslines than is good for me, he said. And don't ask me about critter cats, boss. I'd like to see every last one of them dead. Save in your honor's presence, of course, Sardine added, eyeing Maurice nervously. And, said Peaches, they've gone to some kind of stable right on the edge of town, said Sardines. Smells bad. Lots of dogs around. Men, too. Rat pit, said Maurice. I told you they've been breeding rats for the rat pit. Oh, breeding them, too. Oh, God, this is so fucked up. Right, said D'Artagnan. We're going to get Ham and Pork out of there. Sardines, you will show me the way. We'll try to pick up anyone on the way who looks halfway sensible. The rest of you should try to find the kid. Why are you giving orders? Said Peaches. Because someone has to, said D'Artagnan. Ham and Pork might be a bit scabby and set in his ways, but he's the leader and everyone smells that, and we need him. Any questions? Right. Can I come, sir? Asked Nourishing. She's helping me carry my string, boss, Sardines explained. Both he and the younger rat were carrying bundles of it. Excuse me. You need all of that? Asked D'Artagnan. You should never say no to a piece of string, boss, said Sardines earnestly. It's amazing some of the stuff I've been finding. All right, so long as she's useful for something, said D'Artagnan. She better be able to keep up. Let's go. And then there was just Dangerous Beans, Peaches, and Maurice. Dangerous Beans sighed. One rat can be brave, but a bunch of rats is just a mob, he said. Are you right, Maurice? Excuse me. No, Look, there was something back there, said Maurice. It's in a cellar. I don't know what it is. It's the voice that gets into people's heads. Well, not everyone's, said Peaches. It didn't frighten you, did it? Or us? Or D'Artagnan? It made Ham and Pork very angry. Why? See, and I assumed Ham and Pork was very angry at just witnessing this horrible thing. Maurice blinked. He could hear the voice in his head again. It was very faint, and it certainly wasn't his own thoughts. And it said, I will find a way in, cat. Did you hear that? He said. I didn't hear anything, said Peaches. Perhaps you have to be close, Maurice thought. Perhaps if you've been close, it knows where your head lives. He'd never seen a rat so miserable as Dangerous Beans. The little rat was huddled by the candle, staring unseeing at Mr. Bunsey Has an Adventure. I hoped it would be better than this, said Dangerous Beans. Excuse me, but it turns out we're just rats. As soon as there's trouble, we're nothing but rats. It's very unusual for Morris to feel sympathetic to anyone who wasn't Morris. In a cat, such sympathy is a major character flaw. I must be ill, he thought. If it's any help, I'm just a cat, he said. Oh, but you are not. You are kind, and deep down I sense that you have a generous nature, said Dangerous Beans. Really? Oh, that's a nice thought. Morris tried not to look at Peaches. Oh boy, he thought. At least you ask people before you eat them, said Peaches. You'd better tell them, said Morris's thoughts. Go on, tell them. You'll feel better. Oh no. Morris tried to tell his thoughts to shut up. What a time to get a conscience. What good was a cat with a conscience? A cat with a conscience was a hamster or something. Oh, I've been meaning to talk to you about that, he muttered. Go on, tell them, said his shiny new conscience. Get it out in the open. Yes, said Peaches. Morris squirmed. Well, you know, I do always check my food these days. Yes, and it does you great credit, said Dangerous Beans. Now Morris felt even worse. Well, you know how we've always wondered how come I got changed even though I never ate any of that magical stuff on the dump? Yes, said Peaches. That has always puzzled me. Morris shifted uneasily. Well, you know, did you ever know a rat, quite big, one ear missing, big a white fur on one side, couldn't run too fast because of a bad leg? That sounds like additives, said Peaches. Oh, yes, said Dangerous Beans. He disappeared before we met you, Morris. Oh, God. A good rat had a bit of a speech difficulty. Speech difficulty, said Morris gloomily. He stammered, said Peaches, giving Morris a long, cool stare. Couldn't get his words out very easily. Not very easily, said Morris, his voice now quite hollow. But I'm sure you never met him, Morris, said Dangerous Beans. I miss him. He was a wonderful rat once you got him talking. Oh my God. This book is relentlessly uncomfortable. Uh-huh. Did you meet him, Morris? Said Peaches, her stare nailing him to the wall. Morris's face moved. It tried various expressions, one after another. Then he said, all right, I ate him, okay? All of them. Except for the tail and the green wobbly bit and that nasty purple lump. No one knows what it was. Or no one knows what it is. I was just a cat. I hadn't learned to think yet. I didn't know. I was hungry. Cats eat rats. That's how it goes. It wasn't my fault. And he'd been eating the magic stuff and I ate him, and so then I got changed too. Know how that feels, seeing the green wobbly bit like that? It doesn't feel good. Sometimes on dark nights, I think I can hear him talking down there. All right? Satisfied? I didn't know he was anyone. I didn't know I was anyone. I ate him. He's been eating the stuff on the dump and I ate him. So that's how I got changed. I admit it. I ate him. It wasn't my fault. And then there was silence. After a while, Peaches said, yes, but that was a long time ago, wasn't it? What? You mean have I eaten anyone lately? No. Are you sorry for what you did? Asked Dangerous Beans. Sorry, what do you think? Sometimes I have nightmares where I burp and eat. Then that's probably all right, said the little rat. All right, said Morris. How can it be all right? And you know the worst part? I'm a cat. Cats don't go round feeling sorry or guilty. We never regret anything. Do you know what it feels like saying, hello, food, can you talk? That's not how a cat is supposed to behave. We don't act how rats are supposed to behave, said Dangerous Beans. And then his face fell again. Up until now. Ugh! He sighed. God, what is this book, Sam? Everyone was frightened, said Peaches. Fear spreads. I hoped we could be more than rats, said Dangerous Beans. I thought we could be more than things that squeak and whittle, whatever Ham and Pork says, and now, where is everyone? Shall I read to you from Mr. Bunsey? Said Peaches, her voice full of concern. You know that always cheers you up when you're in one of your dark times? There was a nod from Dangerous Beans. Peaches pulled the huge book toward her and began to read. One day, Mr. Bunsey and his friend Ratty Rupert Ratty Rupert the rat went to see Old Man Donkey, who lived by the river. Read the bit when they talk to the humans, said Dangerous Beans. Peaches obediently turned a page. Hello, Ratty Rupert, said Farmer Fred. What a lovely day it is, to be sure. This is mad, thought Morris as he listened to a story about wild woods and fresh bubbling streams, or bubbling is a totally different word, bubbling streams, being read to one rat by another rat while they sat beside a drain along which ran something that certainly wasn't fresh. Anything but fresh. To be fair, though, it was bubbling a bit, or at least glooping. Everything's going down the drain. and they have this little picture in their heads about how nice things could be. Look at those little pink sad eyes, said Maurice's own thoughts in Maurice's own head. Look at those little wobbly, wrinkly noses. If you ran out on them and left them here, how could you look those little wobbly noses in the face again? I wouldn't have to, said Maurice out loud. That's the point. What? Said Peaches, looking up from the book. No, nothing. Maurice paused. There was nothing he could do about it. It went against everything a cat stood for. This is what thinking does for you, he thought. It gets you into trouble. Even when you know other people can think for themselves, you start thinking for them too. Of course humans were useful. They could open doors and provide fish. He groaned. We'd better see what's happened to the kid, he said. Sam Tarrigan. Holy shit, what is this book? So the gambling sport competition ring is real, and they're just, oh my God. They've created a system, I feel like this is starting to make more sense. They've created a system where people think there are rats, so they pay for the rat catchers to catch them. The rats have already been caught, so they're paying for nothing. So they have extra money. And then they're breeding rats for this gambling, this rat coursing thing. Everything's fucked up. What is this voice, by the way? I don't get that either. Okay. Thanks, Sam Tarmigan. I will return next week for more of The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents. You're the best. See ya.